Exactly a week ago, Hamas attacked Israel, starting a war in the region. To discuss these events as well as how they may... Możemy jeszcze raz? Przepraszam. How they may impact, okay. Exactly a week ago, Hamas attacked Israel, starting a war in the region. To discuss these events as well as how they may impact another conflict critical to the world's security, the war in Ukraine, I am joined here this evening by Yuri Tabach, former Chief of Staff, NATO Military Liaison Mission in Moscow. Good evening, sir. Delighted to have you with us.
Hello, Sally. Thank you for having me on TVP World. But besides being Chief Staff in Moscow for NATO, I was also Deputy Chief of the Anti-Terrorism Center of NATO in Turkey. So I do know a little bit about the subject.
Oh, this is even more relevant. I'm glad you've mentioned this because my first question was supposed to be, how did it happen? How did IDF allow for this to happen? How did they miss it?
Well, I think before we go into speculating over these things, there should be an independent, thorough, and immediate investigation. Israel is not in, let's say, imminent danger, for instance, like Ukraine. So they can take their time, and all these things are like, oh, we will investigate it after the war. Listen, Israel has been in the war since the day Israel came to existence. For 80 years, Israel. So they should investigate those things. I have myself, as a professional, have lots and lots and lots of questions. I have no questions to the terror organizations such as Hamas, but I certainly do have lots of questions for the best army in the world and for the best intelligence in the world, Israeli. How did that happen? But before we go into those speculations, there should be thorough investigations, an immediate one. And part of the investigations should be journalism, a real journalism. Real journalists should also go into it and investigate what has happened before the rumors such things are inside job and traitors and treachery and all this happens. There are military leaders that should have taken charge, that should have exercised leadership and moved forward and stopped that massacre. But it didn't happen, unfortunately. So there should be an investigation into the leadership and the chain of command and many, many other things in Israel, for instance. Why was there no security during the concert? Israelis are very keen on security, and all of a sudden, why weren't there no weapons? You know, Israelis used to be all carrying weapons on them. Who disarmed the citizens of Israel and disarmed citizens? Usually governments who do not want to arm their citizens are afraid and do not trust their citizens. So many questions like that.
Right. And what do we know about the attack on from the other side, right? What do we know about Hamas's attack? How long has it been in preparation? Do we know who's behind this? Was there Iranian support? What are the theories circulating in your circles?
Well, I think it is not a very difficult question, as we always know. Who benefits from those kind of things? Do Palestinians benefit from it? No. Do poor people of Palestine benefit from it? No. They're going to be, there's going to be lots of collateral damage to them. These terrorists who conducted this, they knew that there was going to be a retaliation. There's going to be a tough one. So who? The Israelis benefit? Certainly not. The Americans, the Poles, the Ukrainians certainly do not. All we have to do is look at the price of oil that turned out to be as a result of this attack. And then we can figure out who benefits from the price of oil. Ukrainians? No. Russians? Yes. Iranians? Yes. No one else. So we know behind it. We can see that there were Russian missiles such as Corvette used in this attack. How did the Hamas obtain them? There were definitely those flying motorcycles or mopeds. Iran supplied them. Certainly, it leads to back to KGB thugs in Russia.
So
as always, I mean, all the terrorists always been trained by the Soviets and today by the Russians. Unfortunately, again, Russia is a synonym to Soviet from Russia with love and stuff like this. But it is an old Soviet KGB style, you can tell.
You've mentioned the retaliation, the imminent incursion into Gaza, the ground incursion into Gaza. How do you view these? How effective can this be? There will be a high number of casualties. From a military standpoint, how viable this operation is?
Well, I don't know, because it's not over. It just started. I know that the world community is going to be pressuring Israelis to stop. It's not equivalent or to the attack. It's so stupid when people, especially Europeans, start saying, "Oh, it's not." The retaliation is not equal to the attack. I mean, yeah, of course, tell that to the Russians, to the Soviets, that in Stalingrad, the retaliation against the Germans was not equal. I mean, what does that all mean, equivalent? Does it mean that Israelis have to find a concert in Gaza? They find young people, rape as many women, kill as many children? What does it mean to be equivalent or to be fair in that sense? It's a war. It's a bloody war, and it's a war not between Israel and Palestine or Israel and Hamas. It's a war against darkness and brightness, against right and wrong. And if Israelis will have the willpower and will have a political will to withstand the criticism and finish the job once and for all, then hopefully it will work. And the way they have to do it is continue the blockade of Gaza until until Hamas releases the hostages. If they don't, then there's going to be a lot of dead people in Gaza, including the hostages. But they have to submit to it. And of course, Egypt is also bordering Gaza. So why isn't brotherly Arab country helps them out and provides them with water and electricity and medicine and everything else? Because in a sense, Sally, it is kind of stupid. The people who give you water, medicine, electricity, and you fire at them, eventually they will stop doing it. And on the other side, your neighbors, your Arab neighbors, the same people who provide you with absolutely nothing, you do not fire on them and you do not rape and kill their children. So this is, I think the problem is not going to be laying in the retaliation of Israelis upon terrorist organization. I think the problem is going to be splitting our society, splitting our world, pinning one out against the other,
because the
Ukrainians
question
against Israelis and so forth.
The question, of course, is that whether what Hamas has done justifies what will happen next, and I think this is something that we and the international community has been looking into. But you've mentioned on a number of times that Russia is the country that could have benefited from this or is benefiting from this. What about Russia's war in Ukraine? How does this unfolding conflict in the Middle East and perhaps also U.S.'s military support for Israel takes away the attention and support from Ukraine? Is it a valid argument?
Sure, it is. It's a very valid. Thank you for asking the question. Let me take a step back. There are two movies, and your previous program was about movies, and one is called Cold Tango, and the other one is called From Hell to Hell. Hell to Hell was made by my friend Dmitry Astrahan, and in short, it shows that during World War II, when the Polish Jews were taken to the Auschwitz, everybody knew they were going to get killed. And good Polish family said, listen, a little girl is blue-eyed, blondish kind of, let us take her. We pretend that she's ours and save her life. And this is what good Polish people did. They took her for 4 or 5 years. But what happened, this Jewish family did not get killed. The husband escaped, joined the partisans, learned how to fight, killed a lot of Nazis. The wife survived. Also, somehow they come back to Poland, but the girl is already wearing a little cross. She's already, she's calling these good Polish people, a mother and a father, and they saying, wait a minute, all the other children were killed. This is our daughter. And the Soviets used this because this partisan knows how to fight, saying, okay, the home army is a Nazi army, help us to fight these guys. They stole your daughter, and now they're pinning this Jewish family against this Polish family. And guess what? They start blaming each other, and they start fighting with each other. And today, they're not already thinking that they're not blaming the Nazis, they're not blaming Hitler for it, they're not blaming Stalin and the KGB thugs who use this unfortunate people against each other. And who is benefiting from it? The Jewish family? No. The Polish family? No. The poor girl is ripped between them. So the same thing, I'm afraid, is going to happen now. They're going to say, the Israelis going to say, when the Russians attacked Ukrainians, everybody were like pro-Ukrainian, let's help Ukrainians, and blah, 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 blah. When we're getting attacked by a terrorist organization, everybody's criticizing us. Why aren't you? And Ukrainians are going to say, oh, you know what? Now the weapons that were supposed to go to us are going to Israelis, and the Israelis. So and we're going to lose the picture. We're going to lose the focus that the enemy, not Ukrainians, the enemy are not the Israelis. The enemy is sitting in the Kremlin. The conductor of this orchestra is in the Kremlin. The first violin is sitting in Riyadh. This is the problem.
Yuri Tabach was my guest this evening. Thank you, sir, for your time and insight.
Thank you, Sally, for inviting me. Bye-bye.
And thank you for watching World News Tonight. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.